Duelists. I mean, Space Bear Gundams. We're not even trying anymore, Konami. We're just Space Bear Gundams. Yeah, okay. URSARCTIC, a deck that I have a love-hate relationship with. There is a lot going on with this archetype, both mechanically and lore-wise. But I have to say, I think the ultimate way to sum this up is that this is a control deck, which turns out in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is hard to make work. Let's break it down. The URSARCTIC are a series of monsters whose primary mechanic is to special summon from the hand on either our or our opponent's turn, which makes them a very reactive deck, and then each of their monsters will have various effects when special summoned. So let's look at basically the flagship main deck monster for this, URSARCTIC McPolar. During the main phase, as a quick effect, so on our turn or our opponent's turn, you can tribute one other level 7 or higher monster from your hand. All of our main deck monsters are going to be either level 7 or level 8, and if they're level 8, they'll be a tuner. We'll get to this later because trust me, it just gets way too complicated, frankly. Special summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn except monsters with a level, so no linking, no Xyz summoning. That's another thing. The URSARCTICs are very phobic towards things that don't have a level. If this card is special summoned, you can add one URSARCTIC monster from your deck to your hand, except for URSARCTIC McPolar, and you can only use this once per turn. So we have a bunch of various URSARCTIC monsters that do similar things. Our 7s are McPolar, which is our searcher. McTanis is our recycler from the graveyard. McBillis can immediately special summon another URSARCTIC from the hand. And then all of our 8s require another URSARCTIC to be on the field when they are special summoned to get their effect. Megapolar is going to pop a spell trap. Megatannis is a Book of Moon. And Megabillis is a DD Crow. So we've got all those, and we are going to be really trying to manage what ones we have in hand and what ones we can special summon. And since this is a quick effect, we are going to be doing a lot of stuff on our opponent's turn in the hopes of disrupting them either through that DD Crow effect, the Spell Trap Pop effect, or the Book of Moon effect especially. Have a few URSARCTIC spell traps that we're going to go through. First one is going to be Departure. This is we discard a card and then we can add 2 URSARCTIC monsters from the deck to the hand. So this is a great way to kind of fix what sort of effects we have in rotation, and also to make sure that we have the right levels. Once again, more on that later. Also, you can banish this from the graveyard to substitute for a tribute that you might have made for one of your other URSARCTICs, which is absolutely crucial because this deck can run out of cards in hand super quickly, and we need them. We need them. We need them. The next one is going to be our Field Cell. That is the URSARCTIC Big Dipper, aka the URSARCTIC aircraft carrier. Once per turn, if you would tribute a monster to activate an URSARCTIC effect, you can instead banish an URSARCTIC from your graveyard instead. Also, every time any monster is special summoned, so that's on our opponent's turn, on our turn, they're summoning, we're summoning, put a counter on this card. If we special summon a monster, and we have an URSARCTIC Synchro on the field, we can remove all of the counters. It has to be at least 7, and we can actually steal one of our opponent's monsters. So take that, use it against them, prevent them from activating a thing, prevent them from going to the battle phase with it. This is a great control tool, especially since there's going to be so much special summoning, not only from our deck, but the way modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Functions. Then we have URSARCTIC Radiation. This is a continuous spell. It starts with 7 counters on it, and each time we special summon a URSARCTIC from the hand or the extra deck, we can remove a counter to draw a card. Note, this is not a once per turn, and it's not only on our turn. I have gone through several turns, and you draw sometimes 4 cards off this. Also, during the end phase, we can recycle a URSARCTIC back into the deck, which is great because, like I said, we want to make sure that we always have URSARCTICs in rotation, and once they get in the grave, a lot of times we're just going to banish them to substitute for those tributes. Our final URSARCTIC card is URSARCTIC Slider, just a one of. This is just a quick play reborn, allowing us to have another body on the field to potentially go into our synchro summoning, which I'll discuss in a minute. One final thing to note is that a lot of our URSARCTICs lock us into only special summoning monsters with a level. A majority of our extra deck is going to be synchro monsters. There's a little bit of Xyz going on in there. I'll get to that. You just need to be aware of that because if you were hoping to special summon out a bunch of things and do some link stuff, a lot of times you're going to lock yourself out of that. A few just extra tech packages in here. The righty and lefty driver. Righty on normal summon can special summon lefty from the deck. And then this allows us to go into our URSARCTIC Polari, which I'll get to, as well as Hop Hero Squadron allows us to synchro summon on our opponent's turn utilizing that. And that can get us into some of our more, some of our other synchro levels that aren't the main URSARCTIC ones. That's the main deck. Let's go into the extra deck. Game plan number 1 usually for this deck is to get out a Polari. So Polari is weird because the URSARCTIC synchro summoning mechanic functions on synchro summoning not that add up to a synchro level, but that have a difference of the level, if that makes sense. You notice that this says cannot be synchro summoned, must be special summoned from the extra deck by sending 2 monsters you control with a level difference of 1 to the graveyard to get the polarity. And we still have to do a tuner and non-tuner, which is why all of our 8s are tuners, all of our 7s are non-tuners. That's going to get us to a polarity. Conveniently, though, this is not URSARCTIC, it's a generic, so we can do the righty and the lefty driver. Once we get polarity out, polarity is going to allow us to activate a Big Dipper right from the deck, which is huge. Since it's so searchable, I was considering only playing 1 Big Dipper, but if we lose the Big Dipper, we're super screwed. So I'm playing 2 in here. And then also polarity can tribute one of our monsters that's level 7 or higher and reanimate a URSARCTIC from the grave. So once again, it's all about managing what effects you have. We're doing strictly special summoning, so everything's going to trigger when it comes back, and it's all about managing what levels you have and what effects you might need on either your turn or your opponent's turn. Next, let's go to Grand Chariot. Grand Chariot, same thing, sending 2 monsters you control with a level difference of 7. So a lot of times, once again, this is going to be Polarity plus an 8, which is why that reanimation ability from Polarity is so huge. And then Grand Chariot, simple, just pops 2 on the field. Also allows us to negate by tributing our URSARCTICs if they're being targeted. Finally, the boss monster of the whole archetype, Septentrion. Once again, you need 2 monsters with a level difference of 7, a tuner and a non-tuner. Septentrion negates the effects of all face-up monsters that were special from the extra deck that don't have a level. So if you're not doing fusion or synchro, you're getting messed up by Septentrion. Unfortunately, the current meta is Sword Soul and Branded Despia, which is fusion and synchro. But, you know, it is what it is. This absolutely dicks down things like Dragon Link. Also, whenever our opponent special summons a monster, we can add a URSARCTIC from the deck to the hand. And this is great because it can allow us to refill our hand and get whatever we might need in that situation. Since we can special summon those URSARCTICs on our opponent's turn, we can get whatever we might need, whether that's namely usually the DD Crow effect or the Book of Moon effect from Megabilis and Megatanus. Rest of the extra deck, a bunch of synchros. I was trying out this rank 8 package, Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon. You can overlay into Cypher X Dragon, and then after combat you can go into Zeus and have a 4 material Zeus, or also just a Dingirsu, which is non-targeting, non-destruction removal. Like I was saying earlier, you get locked into monsters with a level so easily in this deck that I don't think that's the right way to go. So I would just keep the Dingirsu just in case, since we can special summon on our opponent's turn. If we special summon in their main 2 and then it gets back to us, we can overlay for Dingirsu, wipe whatever we need to, and then get back to it. But the rest of the extra deck is going to be 2 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss for some nice not only negation, but also this does allow us to reanimate tuners, and all of our tuners are big guys who also will trigger because they're going to be special summoned. We can get this quite easily by going something like a one of our 7s plus a Hopier Squadron, or one of our 7 Synchros plus a Hopier Squadron. We have Dragite, which is arguably the hardest to get to as an 8. There are ways that we can make it, notably if you have a 7 and you normal summon like an Effect Veiler, or you have a 7 plus using the righty driver without using the lefty driver, you can get into a Dragite, which is just, once again, more good removal. We've got another 9, Ravenous Crocker Dragon is high quality. Cloud Castle is a great way to kind of lock down the field. Not only is it hard to get past its big booty, but also you can theoretically reborn your Crocker Dragon or your Archfiend Abyss, and everything that's level 8 or lower can't attack the turn they're normal or special summoned, which is fine. Once again, we're going to be special summoning on our opponent's turn a bunch, so we can wait through, and this is going to prevent people from breaking our board. And then finally, Changing and Baron, we can get to 10s every now and then, and these are just far too powerful to not have it, especially with Changing being a water monster. That's another thing, is that Dragite, since a majority of our monsters are going to be water, this is always going to be online to negate. All right, that's the deck. Let's get into the mech and get into a game. All right, let's go against the true Kaiba. I wonder what they're on. All right, this game was absolutely insane, so I'm going to do a lot of pausing because unfortunately this deck being a control deck, you actually have to think a lot, which is not the best for small brain people like me. All right, we're going to lead off with an URSARCTIC Departure, discarding. We don't need the McBillis right now, but that would let us special summon a additional one. Plus, we got the slider, so we can potentially get it back. But we're going to add 2 URSARCTICs to hand. We're always going to want to go for the McPolar. And here is another McBillis. We'll go McPolar, attributing the Megapolar. We'll add the McTanis. The slider can get us back the Megapolar. Really, once again, we're just going for Polari to start, and then we have the McTanis and the McBillis as kind of like our extender type URSARCTICs. Now that we have the Big Dipper activated directly from the deck, we can go into our 7 just by banishing. That's going to bring that McPolar back so that we have additional searching plays next turn. Attributing off that McTanis, we can get back our Megapolar, and now we can go into our Septentrion since we have 2 monsters with a level difference of 7. Now, unfortunately, this was not the most powerful end board, but that is basically quote-unquote full combo, and we have some URSARCTICs in our hand to utilize. Our opponent grabbing the Dragon Ravine. They're going to activate that. Okay, so we are on Dragon Things, and yes, we are on Blue Eyes. We're going to send the Maiden with the Melody of Awakening Dragon, and we can get the alternative and the OG Blue Eyes White Dragon. We will reveal to special summon out the Septentrion, or special summon out the alternative. That's going to trigger our Septentrion. I'm going to grab the Megatannis so that we can Book of Moon, potentially whatever sort of play they want to do. Should have probably fired the Megatannis early. They are going to get the destruction off, but we can go McBillis. McBillis will banish. Once again, Big Dipper coming in clutch, allowing us to basically quote-unquote tribute summon and special summon these things for free. McTanis will trigger on a new chain, allowing us to get out the Megatannis, and now we can flip down that Blue Eyes alternative White Dragon, stop that from getting into the battle phase. Now we can go for McPolar, grabbing us a McBillis. I want to make sure that they don't have any sort of Blue Eyes in rotation, especially once we start dealing with their threats. They're going to be able to get Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon back, which is going to add a Chaos form. Okay, so they are going to attempt to Blue Eyes Chaos Max us, which is a problem. There's the Chaos Max. So Chaos Max, right? Can't target it, can't destroy it, and also if it attacks a defense position monster, inflict double piercing battle damage. So that's basically their way to OT Chaos. So we're going to have to put a lot of things in attack position, which is unfortunate because most of our level 7s only have 700 attack. All right, Call by the Grave. Fine. Let's start with a Polari, and now with the Polari on the field, we can actually take the alternative. We'll flip it up. We will pop their Abyss Dragon. Now we can go for the Megabillis, once again allowing us to banish from the grave with the Big Dipper, really putting in a lot of work. Hence why I wanted to play 2. If they had anything that destroyed our Big Dipper, we would be shit out of luck. Let's go Departure. I really don't need that Call by the Grave, but we are going to get Dark Bribed. Also, I banished that Blue Eyes White Dragon just so they don't have it in grave. Chaos Max ritual spell can actually banish from the grave as well. But we drew into the Effect Veiler, which as a we'd never use our normal summon in this deck, so we can always normal summon whatever sort of like hand trap we have as necessary. We can go that plus our 7 to go into Dragite, and like I said, since we have waters in the grave, we should be able to negate. Now we can go to the battle phase, and there's the Quaking Mirror Force, and why? Yeah, so a few things. One, Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon can't attack after it uses its destruction ability the same turn, so I thought we had lethal. We didn't. Also, I summoned the Dragite, one, because it was really the only play that we had with the Effect Veiler, but also I assumed I was going to be able to negate. So someone please tell me in the comments why Master Duel is bugged and why I was not able to negate, because I definitely have a water monster in grave. So that's a little tilting, but that's fine. We can tribute off our Billis and bring back the Megapolar. Megapolar will allow us to pop the Dragon Ravine. Once again, I don't want them putting anything in the grave that's going to potentially enable them to get Chaos Max. And we can end off on a Septentrion, which will refuel our hand if they go and summon anything, which they will. They're going to banish the Whitestone, adding back the Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon, and now they will be able to Ritual. Now we have to be really careful because that piercing is going to be deadly. Here is the Chaos Max. We'll trigger the Septentrion and grab the Megatannis. This is also before I decided to read Chaos Max and see that it can't be targeted. So I wonder why I'm not able to Book a Moon. Our opponent goes in. Interesting choice hitting their own Blue Eyes. I figured they would maybe go for one of our monsters since they're not going to get like crazy piercing damage anyway, but it is what it is. Here's radiation. Sure, we can activate that. We can go into Polari. Also, another thing, I was not able to flip up my Dragite, like flip summon it. I don't know what was up with that, but we can at least continue, pop their back row, as well as trigger our radiation. This is going to be huge. Radiation draws so many cards. It's a good thing they gave such a busted card to such a weak archetype, because otherwise it would be crazy. Now we can go Mictanus. Also, the whole once per turn thing about URSARCTIC Big Dipper, pretty sure it's just a lie, because I banished like crazy this game. Once again, radiation putting in work. Which one is this? Mictanus is going to add us back the Megatanus, and now we have the righty driver, and here's where we're going. But first I want to go tribute summon for the Mega Bills, because I realize I need to get that Polari off the field ASAP, because otherwise we will get piercinged to death. So I actually manually tribute summon that the Book of Moon Boy. Now, I don't know why my opponent decided to do this, I guess just to clear the field, but that Chaos Max was like unoutable. But they decided to Ultimate Fusion into the new Tyrant Dragon, which can of course attack all of our monsters once each. Now, we've been cleared and we're down at 400, but we still have plays. Radiation will recycle that Polari. Definitely need that Polari to get into our other extra deck monsters. Nibiru, not really the time for that, but we do have the righty driver. Righty driver will grab us a lefty driver, and now we can go into Polari, and now we can take their monster because they have outed their own Chaos Max. Now we can actually grab that, and I'm just going to make sure that I chain block just in case they have a Dark Vibe again. You never know with these people down in gold now that the season has reset and they're playing frickin' Blue Eyes, you know? We're drawing, we're searching. See, when the deck is allowed to do its thing, and you're not playing against, like, you know, tier 1 threats, it's super cool. I love the resource engine. I love the value. This game was a sick game. Also, by the way, Nibiru over level 7, so we can tribute it. We can continue to deny them resources in the grave. We can continue to draw cards. We've drawn 6 cards off this radiation alone. Polari can tribute off that Mech-Polar to get us back a Megatanus, and with this, we should have game after clearing out their final back row. 28, 25, and for the final blow, opponent scoops up. They don't want to be dealt the final blow by their own Tyrant Dragon. We've overcome the threat that is Blue Eyes. And that's the deck. I'm not going to lie. I played a bunch of games with this, and that game was the best by far. And it really showed off everything the deck wanted to do, so I figured I would just leave it at that. In all seriousness, unfortunately, this deck is very hit or miss. Because it is so reliant on a few key cards, namely the field spell, namely getting something like radiation in rotation, because it is so reactive as opposed to proactive, because if you don't have something like the field spell, your card economy goes into the toilet extremely quick. This I just don't think can ever be a tier 1 deck unless we get new crazy support. I do have a soft spot in my heart for this deck, so I definitely am going to be playing with it more and tinkering with it, but I don't expect to have any success once I get out of gold, really. If you like this deck, you want to see more of it, let me know in the comments. Until then, I think we leave the Bear Gundams out in space where they belong, and we go back to playing Braided Despia and Sword Soul like normal people.